What's up, everybody? Eric here with another EWE Reviews. Today I'll be reviewing Loki Season 2. Before I get into that, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, let me know who you want me to review next. Alright, so this is Loki Season 2. This came out on Disney Plus, and it ran from October 5th to November 9th. The cast includes Tom Hiddleston, Sophia DiMartino, Wunmi Mosaka, Eugene Cordero, Kei Kui Hwan, Owen Wilson, and that's the cast for this episode. There's other people, but I didn't want to mention one of them because I'm like, I still kind of feel weird about saying him out loud. Alright, so the basic plot of this show is, the season is that after the events of season 1, things have now been going weird because they killed Sylvie killed He Who Remains, so now Loki has to deal with the entire fallout of what happened there. It's very interesting of what they decided to do, because now the timelines are all having issues, and they basically need to figure out a way to save everything. But yeah, that's the basic plot of the season. I'm going to do this in two sections. I'm going to do spoiler free, and then I'm going to go into a spoiler section afterwards. So just jump to the section of whichever you want to listen to. So first, I'll start off by saying I was not impressed by the show from episodes 1 to 5, because it felt like it was all over the place. And actually, we'll put this in my spoiler free thoughts. So we'll start off with the bad. Yeah, for the season, for me, like, it felt very directionless. And from one episode to another, it felt like they were going a completely different direction. And I'm not sure if I really liked the way they did this. It was something where the focus of one episode of like, oh, this is what we're going to try and accomplish, gets completely erased by the next episode. And then they try to accomplish something different. And it wasn't like the things were like not mutually exclusive. They're just like, oh, we're moving on to this. And I didn't necessarily like the way it was done, in my opinion. But then they brought it all together in episode 6. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. This show also proved to me that Disney does not necessarily know all the times when to put it all out at once or do it weekly. This show should not have been weekly, in my opinion. I think this show, and seeing from the metrics that people have been putting out of how much drop off there was from season 1 to season 2, I can honestly say, yeah, I think it was something like a third of the people that started watching from back before, like, aren't watching for season 2. It's like, it's a pretty big number of how people stopped watching. And then it's noticeable that the writing in season 2 is not as good as the writing in season 1. And even the episodes, the way that they're shot, like, it felt like, I think it was a different director, and it just felt different, and I don't think it was all positive, in my opinion. So, like, going into this review, I was already, before episode 6, I was already thinking I'm going to go with the 6 out of 10 for okay. We'll see what I get to by the end of this episode, because I'm still thinking about it, in my opinion, right now. So let's actually talk about the good. I thought the acting was really good. Hiddleston and Hwan, like, they did a really good job keeping me very, like, invested. Because those times where I was like, I want to rage quit, and I probably would have stopped watching this show after episode 2 if they weren't part of it and I didn't believe that their acting was going to get me through. So they were part of the reason I kept watching. Also, I had to do this review eventually. But I was on the brink of just being like, I'll just skip the show completely. But I've been doing reviews for most of the Disney shows so far that have been coming out while I've been reviewing. Just this one was not something I want to do week to week, because I was like, it was so many different directions. If you would have asked me to do a review week to week, most of the times I probably would have been like a 5 or a 6, because it was all over the place. I didn't necessarily like the way it was done. However, like I said, they put it all back together at the end. So let's actually now move on to my score. And it's crazy because, like I said, this show to me week to week didn't work. However, if I were to say, oh, could you binge it, what score would you give it? And that's actually the score I'm going to go with. I'm like, if I was to binge this and just watch it in one day, I'd actually go with an 8 out of 10 for great. But so that's my official score. I'm going to go with 8 out of 10. Great. But I will say a lot of that just comes down to that final episode. Like, all the threads are finally put together at the end that I'm just like, I'll give it to this one. But if Disney does this crap again, I don't think I'm going to be as lenient with my score. I'll probably give it something lower, because I'm giving it so much leniency because I love the characters and the actors. But as, like, the way it was told, I don't think it was the best done. But like I said, the ending put it all together, and this is a season review, and I'm like, you got there at the end, but it was weird how you got there. So yeah, I'm going to give this episode an 8 out of 10. If you're going to watch it, I recommend just binge it all. I think that'd probably be the best way of doing it. Let's now move on to my spoiler section, guys. So those of you that aren't going to join us for spoilers, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. But yeah, let's move on to the spoiler section. So 5, 4, Three, two, one. All right, guys, welcome into the spoiler section. So first I'll go with the good this time, and I'll say the finale saved the season for me, in my opinion. That conversation, Loki trying to figure out how can I save Sylvie and still stop He Who Remains, and he did not know what to do. So for me, the finale put everything together, because I was just like, wait, what is everything going? So like the end of episode 4, we're just like, oh crap, everyone's screwed. Episode 5, it's like, oh, we figured out how to use his time powers. The start of episode 6, it comes down to like, oh, maybe he can now reverse everything and make sure that that device actually works. And then we find out, oh, the device is meant to never do what you actually think it's supposed to do. It's meant to just mainly save the sacred timeline. And I was just like, that kind of pissed me off. But then when you find out, oh, well, the answer is what happened with Sylvie and He Who Remains, like that conversation then that Loki has to go have with the Mobius, I was just like, this is a really good conversation. So like the finale to me was really what put it all together, like I've been saying. And honestly, this might sound mean, I think you can cut out most of the rest of the season, take out just the chunks you need, and you probably could have made a show right there. And I'm a movie right there, like a 2.5 hour movie that probably would have been able to cover everything that happened in the show, and it probably would have been even better because it wouldn't have felt directionless like the show did, in my opinion. But yeah, that's just my opinion. But I like that conversation that Loki had with He Who Remains, because He Who Remains is just like, oh, you're just going through this time stuff, let's just have fun. And then when he eventually talks to Mobius and he has that moment of like, I'm not going to kill Sylvie, there is another way. And he found another way. And it was just like, this is really cool that he figured it out. What happens to the character now, I don't know, but I'm actually excited to see what happens there. It was really cool that he did not have like a post-credit scene, mid-credit scene. I know everyone's all excited because of the one from the Marvels, but here not having one, I thought that was better than showing anything. Because for all we know, they're not going to have a season 3. I think they will, but it's just really cool. Like they leave that open to interpretation. Like we don't know what's going to happen next. And then we'll talk. Another good thing is this season had some pretty gruesome deaths. Like Victor Timely's death, the one that he had at the end of episode 4. I was just like, oh crap, they brought that back in. And I actually thought that was a great scene. I did think it got a little bit overused in the finale, but for the first time we saw it, I thought it was really cool. I hope they know going forward, like, hey, don't overuse something that looks really spectacular, because once you start overusing it, it makes it less special. And I did feel a little bit like that at the end of the finale, but I gave it enough of like, okay, I get it. And now I know people are saying like, oh, the Miss Minute scene of when she killed all those traitors, like that's the most gruesome scene we've had. It was a really cool scene, don't get me wrong. I won't say it's like one of the coolest we've had in the MCU, because I was like, you don't really see anything. It's like great, like you hear stuff, and I'm like, that's stuff you see in normal TV all the time, where like something's really gruesome, you hear it, but you don't actually see it. So I still enjoyed it. It was just like, oh crap. But I also didn't see the full point of why she did. Again, the show seemed very directionless to me, where I was like, why did she do that? She didn't really need to kill them or anything like that. It was weird for me, story-wise. Other good, like I said, for me, the majority of the good came in the finale. I did see some good stuff in other episodes. I did like that eventually Loki had to figure out how to use the time powers, and then we saw that, oh, it was Loki that pruned himself earlier in the season. That was really cool, but it felt like a lot of that was just like you created your own problems and you guys had to figure out a way to solve them. And that's basically episodes 1 through 5, and then episode 6 is finally like, okay, now you're really going to try and solve the problem. That was probably my biggest issue with the season. It felt like episodes 1 through 5, you probably could have cut them down to like an hour and a half total, and it would have told the exact same story, because a lot of stuff's not going to matter. Most of the stuff from episode 5 of seeing everyone's life before doesn't really matter, because that all gets erased. And that was probably one of my biggest issues with the season. Let's actually move on to the bad now, where like some stuff felt like it didn't really matter. And I'm not sure if I really enjoyed that. It's like, I want all these episodes to mean something. You're trying to make a show and not a movie. If you're trying to make a show, you need to justify that you're making a show and not a movie. With season 1, I actually felt like they justified it easily, because there was so many variants and stuff that they did, so many twists and turns with season 1 that actually made sense. Season 2, I didn't get that feeling. Now, I know people are going to be like, well, why are you giving it an 8? Because the finale is that good, in my opinion. Let's see. And I think that's all I really have for this, guys. I wish I could say more, but I don't really feel like there needs to be too much about this season. Like I said, I'm going with great. I might be being a little bit high on it, but it just worked for me really well. So yeah, let's go with an 8 for this. The next review I'm going to do is either going to be Gen V or Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4. I'm not necessarily sure which one's coming out next, just because they might come. One of those might come out before this. I'm recording everything on the same day, hopefully, and I just want to get everything done as soon as possible. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you thought, and I'll talk to you later.